Okay, Sefer Yeshua, the third parak, and we're gonna go from the parak pasuk ches to the end of the parak over here, just to point out two miraculous, amazing ideas rather that Meom Loez provides on pasuk Yud Gimel. It says that when the Jews, and we're going to be talking about the Jews crossing the Jordan River over here, and that it dried up, and basically what he's going to say is that the water didn't stop flowing, right? Sometimes that happens with rivers. It dries up because the water stops flowing. That would be impressive, but it could happen many times, and it has happened many times to the Jordan River. When the ark entered into the river, the water didn't just stop flowing. It continued flowing, and remember, there's the end of the rainy season. All the snow was melting, all of the snow melted, but the river didn't just overflow and take a new course or just stop flowing. The water continued to flow and it went straight up into the air. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it went up in a column of 12 miles. And we have a tradition that a cloud cannot go higher than 12 miles. Just think about how tall that is. Now, even so, Rabbi Eliezer ben Shimon says that the column actually was 300 miles. That's how high it went. And it could be seen throughout the entire planet Earth, which is an amazing concept. So God over here wanted to demonstrate to everyone how miraculous this event truly was and how special it is, how special it was, and how much care and protection was involved towards the Jewish people, similar to the splitting of the reeds. And that instilled fear into all of the nations as well. On Pasuk Tezayin, it's pointed out that Hashem chose specifically this time to perform this miraculous act because it was the time of Nisan when all the rivers were very, very full, and therefore it made it even more miraculous. Another miracle that occurred was that when they walked through, everything was completely dry. A lot of times when water just leaves a place, it gets muddy. Everything was totally dry, no mud whatsoever. So that is basically what the Meom Loez says. Let's just wrap up this parak now. I'm going to do a screen share. We're just going to go through the psukim and just a brief commentary on it. So we're going to start with pasuk ches. So this is Hashem's talking to Yehoshua over here. ואתה, תצוה הכהנים נשאי ארון הברית לאמר, command the Kohanim, the people who carry the ark of the covenant, saying, כבאכם ad ketze, when you come to the edge, yarden, of the water of the Jordan, בירדן תעמדו, you shall stand over there. ויאמר יהושע bnei Israel, and Yehoshua told the Jews. He told them as follows: Goshu hine, come over here. V'shim'u as divrei Hashem elheiכם, and hear the words of your God. So that's basically what he told them over here to come on and to listen. The question is, yeah, okay, there's no question. It's pretty straightforward. Rashi over here rather just points out that this was a miraculous event over here that they were able to fit between the two staves of the ark, and it was a miraculous event that everyone was able to fit there. Okay, this point by Rashi over there. Okay, that is that. Let's take a look at the next pasuk. Vayomer Yeshua. Yeshua says, "B'zot ted'un ki kelchai b'kirбכם." With this, you shall know that the God who is alive is among you. והורש יוריש מפניכם es הכנעני וes החתי וes החיבי וes הפריזי וes הגרגושי והאמורי והיבוסי, and he will surely drive out from before you all of these other nations, the Kena'ni people, the Chiti, etc., etc., all of those nations. The question is, Hashem told Yehoshua, with this you shall know. With what shall you know? What's this referring to? Rashi over here points out, from the fact that you see how you're all able to fit in such a small area, that will demonstrate that what's going on over here and who Hashem is. The Radak offers another explanation over here. The Radak says, "Time lefanav sha'aron yavru lefnechem yikrusu miyayarden also gadol." No, you're gonna know who Hashem is from the fact that the Aron is going through and the Jordan River is gonna split. Also gadol hazeh yidun ki kelcha yisbar b'krbכם yorish agoyim lefnechem. You know that you're going to be successful in war and that Hashem is with you from that miraculous event. So we have a machlokus, we have an argument between Rashi and the Radak. Rashi over here is saying an insight, perhaps a chiddush, a surprise. One wouldn't have thought this, that it was from the fact that you were able to stay in such a small area, whereas according to the Radak, no. According to the Radak, the miracle is that that they have more the actual event of the splitting of the Jordan. Okay, Pasuk Yud Aleph. Hine Aron Habris Adon kol haaretz. Okay, remember this is still Yehoshua talking about. So he's saying, here is the ark of the covenant of the master of the entire land. Over mefniכם בירדן, passing in front of you today in the Jordan. ואתה ככולכם שני עשר איש משבטי Israel. Now you shall take 12 people from each of the tribes of Israel. איש אחד לשבט. One person for each tribe. V'haya kinoach kapos, and when it rests, the soles of ragli kohanim, of the feet of the kohanim, no Aron Hashem, the people who are carrying the ark of Hashem, adun kol haaretz, bimei hayarden, the people who are carrying the ark of Hashem, the master of the entire land, in the waters of the Jordan River, mi hayarden yikare soon. The waters from the Jordan will cut off. Hamayim hayordim milamala, the water that descended from upstream. Vayamdu ned echad. That's the end of Yehoshua talking, and it will stand as one column. The word ned means column, so it's not such a common word, but that's what it means. One gathering. The Metzuda says over here. Metzuda says kibbutz echad, one gathering. It could be translated as a column. Okay, so that's basically Yehoshua instructing them what will happen with the Jordan River. Rashi writes, take 12 people, hechinu oisem lios nechonim mashatzava oisem kishtavres yardim. You should prepare them that they're going to be prepared for that which I'm going to command them when you are crossing the Jordan. That's what's happening over here. Radak over here comments. Ve'ata kechu v'lo amar lahem ma yasu. He didn't tell them what to do. He just said find 12 people. Elheichim oisem teresh shavro v'acher shavru ha'am amar lahem shirimu yishavna. So you just say make sure that there are 12 people prepared, and then after they cross, then he said everyone should take a rock, and we'll learn about that exactly what the story is with the rock. Next radak v'yamdu ned echad. It's going to stand as one column. Pirish shelo yispashtu hine v'hine. It's not going to spread on different sides. V'hine b'hasarasam v'lo hine v'hine b'hasarasam below yishtafu oisem makomis. It's not going to flood the areas over there. Aval yamdu ned echad is going to stay in one column. Kimoshe yardu amayim kim yamdu elu el elu. Just like it goes down, it's going to stand that way. V'lo yispash v'lo yitzu me gedoy Yarden. It's not going to go out from the shore of the Yarden, the side of it. Okay, so that is going to be the radak. Okay, that's the idea over here. Now the Alshach and the Malbim suggests that these men, one from each tribe, were chosen to witness the miracle, right? Because not everyone could see necessarily all the details. The Malbim says that presumably these same people would have been those that would carry out the command later on, which we'll see in Parak Daled. Okay, beginning of the Parak Pasuk Beis and Gimel. One column. Okay, so there is a Rashi actually to see on Yud Gimel. But Olam Lamala. The ArtScroll explains this Rashi that the water is flowing downstream, piled up vertically above the river bed, or else the water would have overflowed on the riverbanks, as the Radak explains. Okay, so that is this pasuk over here. They give a brief introduction to the remaining psukim of this parak, the ArtScroll. The Jordan was at its highest level of water. As we said, it was the rainy period, the time of Nisan, the months of the spring harvest, which follows the rainy season when the mountain snows are melted and running into the river. Okay, really saw that old news. Okay. Okay, let's see the next pasuk. Yudalid. Vayihi ben Nitzoa ha'am mahaleim, when the nation traveled from their tents, lavor as a Yarden, to cross the Jordan. והכהנים נשאי ארון הברית לפניהם, and the Kohanim, the people who were carrying the ark of the covenant in front of the nation, before the nation. Straightforward, no additional commentaries necessary. Ukebo no say Haaron, and when they came, the people who were carrying the ark ad Yarden until the Jordan, v'ragle kohanim, and the feet of the Kohanim, no say Aaron, the people who were carrying the ark, nit bilu, they were immersed like a tibul, matbilin pa'amechad nit bilu, tevilas kalim, immersing the kalim, dipping the kalim. They were immersed, beketze hamayim, the edge of the water, v'heyardin male al kol gidosav, and the Jordan was filled on all of the banks. Kol yemei katzir, all of the days of the harvest. So, like we just said, it was totally full. That's what we've been learning the entire time. The water was totally full. Vayamdu hamayim. Okay? Vayamdu hamayim, and the water stopped over here. The water stood, excuse me. Omen can mean stand, but it could also mean like stopped. So the water stood up, as we explained. It stood up. Vayamdu hamayim hayordim milamala. The water stood up, the water that was descending milamala, from above, from upstream. Kamu nerechad. It was one column. It stood up as one column. It stood still like one column. Harchik miod ma'adam. It was very far from either Be'adam or Me'adam Ha'ir. It's the name of a city. From that city, from Adam the city. Asher Bitsad Sarasan, which is on the side of Sarasan, which is a certain place. And the water, V'hayordim Alayam, and the water on the sea, Harava. So this is referring to the water that was going down from the sea to the plain. Yam HaMelech Tamu Nikrasu. The sea that ceased was cut off. In other words, what's happening over here? Va'am avru neged Yericho, and the nation was standing by Yericho. In other words, they were already there. So what happened over here is that the waters were descending from upstream. They were still, as we said with the column, far from Adam, right? Harchik ma'od ba'Adam, far from Adam, which is Ha'ir Asher Misad Sarasan, which is a city that is near Sarasan, which is another place. And then the pasuk says, I'm just doing it again, V'hayordim alayam, and the water that descends to the sea, Harava of the plain, Yam HaMelech, which is the Dead Sea, Tamu, it ceased, Nikrasu, and it was cut off. V'ha'am avru neged Yericho, and then the people, they crossed right by Yericho. So that's the pasuk over there, a little bit of a tricky read. The Mitsuda Sion translates. Okay, it's on the other page. Gidosov is talking about the riverbed, and that's around the Mayim, that area. Mitsuda's David points out it's on the other page. I don't need to spend time turning to it. I have it in front of me over here. It's talking about that this is coming to show how great the miracle was, that even though that there was so much water in the Jordan River from the entire season, it was totally full. So it made it more miraculous. Dax is a similar idea over here. Okay. That's everything over here. The Mitsuda's David over here writes, the Hayordim Hamayim Shiardu Kodim Akrisa Lasad Yamaravavu Yamamalach. Okay, just explaining the explanation of the pasuk. Tamu Nikrasu Hamayim Ahim Tamu Makoim Nikrasu Vahochalam Venisha Makom Choy Vyovish. It was totally dry, that place, like we said before. Okay, and then we're gonna have one more pasuk over here at Yud Zayin. Vayamdu HaKohanim And the Kohanim, they stood up, Noisi Aron Bris Hashem, people who are carrying the ark of the covenant of Hashem, Becharava. This is talking about that they were in dry land. Betoch Hayardin Hachin, they were in the Jordan River firmly. B'kol Yisrael Oivrim Becharava, and all the Jews they were passing on dry land. Adasher Tamu Kol Hagoy La'avor, until the entire nation completed from passing as a Yardin, completed passing the Jordan River. So in other words, they successfully crossed the Jordan River. What does this mean over here when it says that the Kohanim stood, the people who were carrying the Aron, the covenant of Hashem, in the land, betoch hayardin heichin, in the Yardin heichin. What's this word heichin over here? Firmly. Where does that come from? So let's take a look at the Mitzudas in Yud Zayin. Heichin wrote Lamer amdu muchan mesukun derech keva ad kulam. They stood prepared in a set type of manner, not a temporary way, until they all passed, until everyone passed through. The article says that also what the Meom Loez says, that even the puddles and the mud dried out completely. The nature of the miracle, which began when the Kohanim stepped into the water and continued as long as they stood there, made clear that the crossing was a miracle that was brought about by the ark and its bearers. So why didn't they sing a shira? Why didn't they sing a song? Similar to Az Yashir, they sang a song after they crossed through the Sea of Reeds, after the Exodus. So another question, why don't we sing a song when we received the Torah at Har Sinai? It's another question. Sea of Reeds split under the leadership of Moshe, who was great enough to raise the entire nation to such a clear perception of godliness that even a maidservant can point and say, Zeh keli ve'anveyu, this is my God. Now beautify him. It's pasuk in Shmos Yud Daled Beis. And the truth of the matter is that this is a well-known Chazal, Rosh Shivchas B'Yamachel Ro Yecheskel Ben Buzi, that even just a simple maidservant saw by the splitting of the sea, even that which the prophet Yecheskel was unable to see and fathom. So therefore, everyone could join Moshe in a prophetic song and sing. Yeshua is very great. However, he cannot elevate the entire nation to such a high level. That is the insightful answer of the Kedushas Levi. So this is the third parak. The fourth parak we will move through also quicker. Going to go into this crossing more, continuing with the crossing of the Jordan River. And then the fifth parak is going to be very juicy, a lot of very applicable ideas. So, okay, continue next time.